Well, meanwhile, once again, I'm going to urge all of our members of the audience to keep those tweets coming using hashtag @TechIN. We'll also be joined by our set of audience members from the other ballroom, because this is going to be the common room where some of the spotlight sessions will also take place. So they'll also be joining in, and we'll also give a quick makeover to the stage. And before we invite our next speaker, also, please do take a look at the agenda, because we also have some very interesting partner programs, workshops, and masterclasses lined up for all of you. So please do register for it in case you haven't. And also, in case any queries, please do connect with the team. We're always here to ensure that all your queries are sorted. Please do download the app, because all the information is actually available on the app. And you can also download the digital bag, because there are some very exciting offers from all of our partners who have displayed their booths in the expo hall as well. So stay tuned for all those offers. Time for our spotlight session, where our speakers will be sharing their insightful words for 10 minutes each. And our first spotlight session here, we have a very interesting topic on turn clicks to love and love into ROI. So we have with us Ignacio Franco, who's the Enterprise Marketing Director with Talk Walker. So a warm welcome to you, sir. Can we have a huge round of applause for our spotlight speaker here? Over to you.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. How are you? Come on, how are you? Woo, now you're better, right? I see a little bit of smiles, everyone is cool. So welcome. Today I'm going to talk about how to turn clicks into love and love into ROI. Some of the things that we just heard in the panel before was a lot of how creative, dynamic creative, they talk about how to learn about data. They talk also about how to see the source of where information is coming. So, perfect. As I was saying, clicks into love, love into happy customers. So we live in a connected era. Everyone, we don't connect into internet anymore, we live connected. So how many of you have more than 2 devices connected to internet in your house? More than 5. We still see a lot. So what's happening with this? You have a lot of touch points with your customers. You can connect them every time, like in your cell phone, in your console, in your TV, everywhere you can contact them. But what's the problem? That having so much traffic and so much people wanting to connect them, you really want to target them in the right way. You want to get them to really understand how they can pick the correct message into the correct channel in the correct time, because people have an attention span that is very low, so we need to work with that. Experiences are the new competitive, the new intellectual property. It's the new competitive battleground. Companies are battling to really create experiences. So when we talk, like what we were talking about before, about dynamic creative, you really need to get the correct message, but you need to create an amazing experience, because that's what companies are looking for. Because if you get a product, it's about the price point, yes, but what happens when you get an amazing experience buying a product? You want to buy a product, you share the product, you share your experience, and that's what's getting you so many customers. Like, brands really want to connect, they want to really get that wow moment or the aha moment where you, during the process, it's so transparent, so personal, that you really believe in the brand, you connect, and that's what's really getting results out there. So this is what you don't want to happen. This is exactly what you don't want. I like to talk about it like it's the universal sign of a bad experience. So how many of you, if I would tell you, go to my website and you see this, how many would go to the next website? A lot of you. Because if you see this, it's just like, what's happening? It's like just wrong, you know? So this is what we need to like really check. We'll really need to make sure that the experience is really good for the customer. Here's some numbers about how good experiences are getting good results. So we see, obviously, we have the ROI, customer satisfaction, client lifetime value, average ticket. We get all these numbers. But for example, one that is very important for me is employee satisfaction. Why? Because if the people in the company are happy working there, you're going to transmit that energy. I mean, everyone's going to be like more happy, and that eventually gets to your customers. Because if you go to a store and maybe you're trying to find something and you get a bad response, I mean, we're talking about the base level, like shop, like customer experience. You talk to someone, they help you, you're happy. But if you go into a store, you try to find a product, no one can help you, what's going to happen? You're going to say no. And if someone wants to go to the store, what would you say? No way. I mean, I didn't have a good experience. So it's important that you really take control. Here's win happy customers. This is something that happened to me a couple of years ago. I was flying through the US. I was in the Dallas airport, just landing, and I realized that I had 15 minutes to go to the next flight. So what I did, what most of us would do, I would take out my phone, I tweeted to American Airlines, and I said, like, guys, I'm not gonna make my flight. So I even said something, I don't think it's the best experience for them, but I said, like, I think that is possible maybe for Flash or Batman, but not for a regular human. And they answered back, don't worry, Mr. Aguirre, because your flight will wait for you. And you know what? They got a happy customer. It didn't matter if I had to pay $30 or $50 more in the next time I was going to fly, because I knew they were going to wait for me, or at least I would have a human response. Not a bot, not someone would say, are you in a hurry? One, are you not in a hurry? Two, yeah, I'm in a hurry. That's what I'm tweeting you. It's like, well, why would I want to say like a number when I'm really having a problem? So we need to go towards these type of experiences because this is what will get you to the next step. In the digital world, when you realize something is obvious, it's too late. So that's very important because normally when you talk to people, you go through a session, you hear these amazing things, you're like, oh wow, I should be doing that. But more than I should be doing that, I think you should be worrying about, is my competition doing that? Because if they're doing it, they're one step ahead of you. And now we live in a world where it's more complicated because even people who were not your direct competition are becoming your competition. I mean, you were a bank before and you worried about banks. But you weren't worrying about Amazon, Google, or Facebook becoming a bank in the next months and stealing half of your customers and having like a lot of information. So it's very delicate, and we really need to understand that when you see something that you should be doing, just not put it like, oh yeah, I should do that. You should definitely start moving towards your strategy and go towards it. Does anyone know who this is? Mr. Potato Head. So I think I worked, before joining TalkWalker, I was working for Adobe in Latin America, and we were seeing that a lot of companies, and more in emerging markets, this is how their infrastructure looks like, because they have an amazing analytics area in this side, they have another amazing campaign area in another place, but they don't connect. So if all your tools don't connect, you can't really get insights. One of the main problems that companies are seeing is that they can't see a unified view of the customers, which is very complicated. And the next one is that they see that their information is in silos. So if you have an amazing analytics team in the corner, making amazing insights and getting all this information, but not using it, you're just building data cemeteries that are very beautiful, stacked in servers, but nothing is coming out of it. 74% of companies want to be data-driven, but only 29% of them actually activate towards the analytics that they get. And what does this mean? That people get amazing insights, but they don't use them. They're just stacked there. So what we need to do is really get this information and act upon it. And the problem is, a couple of years ago, you got these amazing insights and you could use it, and because you wouldn't get all this feedback in real time. But now we live in real time. So right now, something's hot, the next week it's not. So you really need to understand and read this information, and you need a tool that can help you extract these insights, because there's just too much information. So what creates experiences for consumers today? It's influencers. And why? Why is this influencer trend growing so much? Because people trust influencers. We're seeing many different types of influencers. We got celebrities, we got macro-influencers, micro-influencers, nano-influencers. There's one for each brand. I mean, some have less followers, fan base, but maybe they really connect with them. And then we have other type of macro-influencers. You want a broader audience, but this will help you understand, this will help you sensibilize, but you definitely need a strategy towards getting an influencer, because you really need someone who understands your brand and represents your brand, because it's not just getting someone famous. It's someone who actually represents the product that you're selling. So it's important that if you go towards this strategy, you really look at this. Credibility. If you get an influencer on food, it's someone who cooks food, who has shared recipes, and people know that they're into this. So if you are a food company and you get an influencer who cooks, it's a great match. And finally, relatability. Why? Because people relate to these people. If you're talking to someone who likes to cook and is showing you lessons, you relate to him. So you trust him, and that's how you're starting building this trust. This is how influencer Google search look in India. So if you see from 2014 to 2018, it has grown more than double. So this is a trend that keeps on growing and growing and growing. we did a survey with some companies here in India, and we actually got some amazing results. It's very impressive because it's even more advanced than on a global level. We did a global survey and then a specific here, and it's more advanced, even more advanced. Here, some of the numbers that we got. These numbers are some stats that we got from the survey, and what like the main criteria that people are using towards looking for influencers. And the main one was more brand visibility, but then we had more direct leads, product purchases, and more creative campaigns. We have seen that it works when you promote a product through influencers. It's one of the decisions that people take towards buying a product and purchasing a product, and more when it's online. So here are some other numbers, but according to Twitter, there was 5.2 increase in purchase intent after users were exposed to tweets from influencers. So we're seeing that it works. We're seeing that it's something that is like growing in a very big way. So it's something that you should very much take into account. Here's some other numbers that we have. We have seen that influencer is a black box today because people use it. It's working. They're increasing the amount of money that they're going to spend. If you see here, 38% will greatly increase and 34% moderately increase. So this means that 72% of the companies will increase their investment in influencer marketing. But then if you go, do you use a tool that you can manage your influencer program with? Can you track this? Can you see the ROI? So it's no 61%. And that's a big problem because when you can't really track what's happening, I mean, it's great if you invest and you're getting better results, but you really need to understand, because at the end of the day, this has no scale. You really need to measure. You really need to track, because if you don't do it, it's going to be complicated to scale. This is like an example of what I would say. For example, if you were working with an influencer program, if you chose the wrong influencer in order to get 1 million hits, you would need 5 million impressions. But what would happen if you, like this is with 20% on target, but what would happen if you had 40% on target within the follower base that he has? You would only need 2.5 million impressions. That would save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of clicks from people who actually don't enjoy or won't buy your product at the end of the day. So this is the type of information we should be tracking. This is what you should be seeing, like how can I optimize my spend and how can I really get to this target? Today, as I said, experiences are in silos. So you have disparate systems that show different type of information. So as I said, a unified view of the customer is something very complicated, and people are not able to do it today. It's hard, and many companies have achieved it, but it's like another level. So it's important that you, whenever you have all your systems, they're connected, and you can send the same message. Because what would happen if you say, an offer through email is registered today, then in your mobile you will get loyalty rewards, and then in the web you'll see 25% off, but through direct mail you will only get 15%. You really give a wrong message. So in the last 2 years we have created 90% of all the data in history. So what does this tell us? That we need to have a tool to understand trends, to understand what's happening, because even if you have an amazing analytics team and they're crunching numbers, they will not be able to track what tendencies are growing, or little spikes, or things that are very important to your brand. In the last panel, they talked about how can you spike, for example, if you're a food company, how can you track things about sustainability or recycling? That's a big matter to CPG companies. How can you track this? Because they will not track your brand. They will complain about this, but you need a tool. And tools like TalkWalker, we can help you track all these trends that are not even mentioning you, but you could get all these insights. In 30 minutes of an electric car, generates as much data as one human being in 1 year. So what does this tell us? 90% of data created in the last 2 years, and one person in 1 year generates as much as a 30-minute car. And we're talking about this car is getting timestamps, it's getting GPS coordinates, it's getting so much information. Okay, I need to finish. Just one more question is, does anyone think that demographics is enough? Of course it's not. Because if you have two people that look together, like these guys have the same demographics, but you would never target to them at the same, because I mean, it's different people. But your tool, if it's only demographics, they would think it's the same person. They would definitely not do this in the same time. And just to conclude, just to sum it up, What I would like to say is, with tools like TalkWalker, you can move from the average, general, normal funnel that you used to have to something that looks more like this. Because you don't need to talk to everyone. You should just be talking to your audiences. You should be talking to the persons who really matter to you, because all this gray area is waste. Through the whole funnel, awareness, then he's going to come, he's going to go to a website until you convert. You're going to talk only to the people that you want. So the idea is to be assertive, so you can have the right message at the right audience at the right time through the right channel, and that's what we can help you build. So there's a red slide there that says time's up. I think it time's up for me. But we're in stand number 6, so I'm not going to have time for questions now, but it would be amazing if you have any questions and you want to know how we can help you with influencer, with all your tracking and social listening. We'll see you there, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ignacio. And yes, please do feel free to connect with all of us.